Talk about that, the evolution of this next storm system into the middle part of the country where things get very active once again tomorrow. There's your dip in the jet stream. Out ahead of it, that's an area where lift is promoted. You got another area of low pressure that's developing and becoming very intense very quickly. This is over the course of the day. On Wednesday, 2 o'clock, you're beginning to see the first of the thunderstorms developing through the early part of the afternoon. Look at the late afternoon and into the evening hours. This is 8 p.m. Central Time now. That coverage, once again, areas that had the severe storms yesterday, tornadoes yesterday, Kansas down into Oklahoma. And with this storm system that's a little bit displaced farther to the south from what we saw yesterday, you've got the severe weather threat that extends all the way down into central Texas. Then tomorrow evening, late overnight into early Thursday, some of these storms may actually be maintaining their intensity right along that frontal boundary. Arkansas back into Texas once again. That's 10 a.m. Central Time. Thursday morning, all that activity spreads off to the south as we head into the latter portion of Thursday evening as that storm starts to lose some of its intensity, but not before a very significant severe weather threat once again for tomorrow afternoon and evening. In some of those same areas as yesterday, southern Kansas, almost all of Oklahoma, and now down including the Red River into northern parts of Texas. You've got more of that strong and severe weather heading your way. The red shaded area, most of Oklahoma, much of northern and central Texas, that's where tornadoes are a possibility with the storms tomorrow. The greatest risk, I-40, OKC, down to the Texas border and into far northern parts of Texas, including Wichita Falls. That's where, unfortunately, we've got tornadoes that are likely latter portion of the afternoon and through the evening. Into Thursday, that threat only slowly shifts a little bit farther off to the east. Areas along and just back to the west of the Mississippi River, much of Missouri, down into Arkansas, northern parts of Louisiana, eventually across the Mississippi, western Kentucky, Tennessee, western parts of Mississippi especially, and including still northeastern parts of Texas, eastern areas in Oklahoma. That's where we're still tracking that severe weather threat into the day on Thursday. That's your forecast right there in Little Rock. You've got storms arriving on Thursday night. They stick with you into Friday. Finally, that storm system presses on off to your east. And look at that forecast to close out the work week after what's been a bumpy week. You've got mostly sunny skies, temperatures in the middle and upper 70s.
I'm Amy Freeze. Welcome to Fox Weather's YouTube page. We have more great videos on the way, so make sure to subscribe to stay updated on all things weather.